2009's Paranormal Activity, which essentially birthed the Blumhouse brand, wasn't the first found footage movie ever made, not by a long shot. The Blair Witch Project was out in '99, The Last Broadcast beat Witch by a year, and Cannibal Holocaust beat Broadcast by almost 2 decades. But honestly, it's a gimmick that's never worn off for me. Horror works best when you believe it. And what better way to make it believable than by lying, by telling the audience it's true. It's also a great way to shoot a movie on a budget. Paranormal Activity was made by Oren Peli back in 2006. He was a computer programmer with zero filmmaking experience. But he got an idea after moving into his first house. He noticed the sorts of noises you hear, creaks and knocks. He thought about what he'd do if he really believed there was something supernatural afoot. As a self-described techno geek, he'd set up cameras to see what was really happening while he slept. That's what birthed the idea. $15,000 and a week of filming later, he had Paranormal Activity. He screened the movie at 2007 Screamfest, which got him signed by the Creative Artists Agency, who sent DVDs out to everyone they could, including producer Steven Schneider, who brought in Jason Blum. As a producer, Blum helped tweak the movie, champion it, and eventually it found a home at DreamWorks when it impressed several executives, including one Steven Spielberg. Supposedly the movie terrified him and he experienced paranormal phenomenon of his own while watching. His bedroom door locked itself from the inside, forcing him to call a locksmith. He was so spooked he returned the movie to DreamWorks in a garbage bag. That part of the story always confuses me. Like, I assume when Spielberg comes to work, he has a bag or briefcase of some kind to carry his things. Why not just put the DVD in that bag? Is a garbage bag especially suited for keeping demons at bay? Originally, DreamWorks planned to reshoot the movie on a bigger budget, only including the original as a DVD extra. Spielberg pushed for releasing the original, and a contractually obligated test screening proved that version effective enough to scrap the remake plans. According to The Hollywood Reporter, they did spend another $200,000 to redo the sound and shoot a new ending suggested by Spielberg, but otherwise, it was Peli's DIY version that made it to theaters. It was a rocky journey getting there, thanks in large part to some issues between DreamWorks and Paramount, who had recently acquired them, but in 2009, Paranormal Activity finally made it to theaters. Earning $193 million on a $215,000 budget made it one of the most profitable films of all time, measured by return on investment. Now, let's give it a watch. It starts with some text. Paramount Pictures would like to thank the families of Micah Sloat and Katie Featherston and the San Diego Police Department. Thanking the families is a clever way of telling you something bad happened without outright saying it. And including the police is a nice touch that adds credibility. It also blends reality by using the actual actors' names. If only they'd gone a step further by having the actors go into hiding for a while so people would think they actually disappeared. Kind of like Cannibal Holocaust, which got the director accused of murder until the actors showed up in court as proof of life. Cool story, but I can't tell if it's actually true or if it's like the War of the Worlds thing, where everyone says during the original broadcast, people thought aliens were actually invading and there was mass panic, but apparently that's actually a myth. San Diego, California, September 18th, 2006. Micah Sloat has bought himself a big fancy camera. From his girlfriend Katie, we can tell this is not unusual. He has a strange fascination with electronics. But he bought this camera for a very specific reason. Katie claims she's been haunted by something since she was 8 years old. Recently, they've heard things around the house, so Micah has decided to set up a camera and see what's really going on. Which means the camera will often be stationary. A nice change of pace from the usual shaky cam you expect from found footage. The actors also do a great job with the dialogue. Much of it was improvised off outlines for a naturalistic feel, not because the writer was lazy or anything. No, this is retroscripting, a fancy word for making it up on the fly. Honestly, it works. They're believable as a couple, and the dialogue feels real. This moment especially, when she asks if he believes her about the thing haunting her.
You believe me, right?
Yeah, of course.
He obviously doesn't believe her, but handled the question like a champ. Way better than I handled it when my girlfriend asked, hypothetically, if I would believe her if she told me she saw a ghost. And somehow I thought the right answer was, I believe that you believed you saw something. I should have handled it the Mika way. Of course I believe you. Now let me set up this camera to prove you're crazy. I mean prove there's a non-human entity afoot. Mika sets up the camera on a tripod in their bedroom and hooks it up to his laptop via FireWire. Please in the comments make me feel less old by assuring me you also know what FireWire is and remember using it. Lie to me if you have to. Night 1, 2:09 a.m. The camera's mic picks up the sound of their keys falling to the floor. Sure enough, the next day, they find them there, somehow moved from their usual spot on the counter. Weird, but not proof yet. Soon, the psychic, Dr. Fredericks, arrives, someone they called in for a consultation. A good way to keep things interesting between rounds of that night footage, the movie's main attraction. It's also a good way to lay out some of the rules and learn more about Katie's past experiences. She tells Fredericks how it all began. As an 8-year-old, some nights she would feel something breathing on her. It would wake her up, and she would see a shadowy figure at the foot of her bed. Her sister, who shared a room with her, would see it too, but it was always at the foot of Katie's bed specifically. It happened for a while, until one day, their house burned down. The cause was never determined, and no one was hurt, but they lost everything and moved. But the hauntings didn't stop. From 13 on, it's happened periodically, and over the past few weeks, things have started happening again. Whispering, scratching noises, faucets turning on, lights flickering. The psychic's diagnosis? This thing is connected to Katie. Unfortunately, he specializes in ghosts. Dead people, but people nonetheless. What they're dealing with here is a non-human entity. A demon. He unfortunately can't help with this, but he can definitely sense something in the house. And they can't run from it because it'll follow her. So what can they do? He does know someone who can help. Dr. Johann Avery's a demonologist. Mika doesn't take it seriously. He asks if they can just get a Ouija board, find out what it wants, and give it over. The doctor warns against that. What it wants is probably Katie herself. And if they try to communicate with it, try to play games with it, that's opening the door, inviting it in. And who would be dumb enough to do something like that? Sam Hain, Lord of the Dead. On this Halloween night, when the curtain is down between real... Look, there were extenuating circumstances, and in the end, everything worked out reasonably well. After the psychic leaves, Mika makes Katie promise she won't call the demonologist. You know, guys, they won't ask for directions for anything. How to get to the highway, how to exorcise a demon. But she makes him promise, if things get worse, we're going to call that demonologist. Just think about that. She believes there is a literal demon, the personification of evil, visiting her nightly. And her attitude is, well, if it gets worse, we'll do something about it. If I see a cockroach, I'm on the phone with an exterminator. She meets a demon, and it's, we'll see. Maybe we'll do something about it. Does that ruin the believability? Honestly, no. I've met people who believe in this stuff. They look me in the eyes and with no hesitation tell me about an entity living in their house. For years, I would think, they can't really believe their house is haunted because if they did, how could they stay in that house? But it finally hit me. To me, an encounter with a ghost would be earth-shattering. It would turn my entire understanding of reality upside down. But if you believe in that sort of thing, and you believe it's just an expected part of life, then the attitude is sometimes you get flies, sometimes you get ghosts. It's no big deal unless it gets worse. Speaking of which, night 3, 2:09 a.m., the door moves of its own accord. This is the movie's magic. Found footage is one of my favorite genres. I can't get enough of it, but the ones I enjoy most are the ones that find a new creative angle. We're mostly used to shaky cam, people running and screaming. Paranormal Activity invites us instead to watch something we don't normally see. What happens while you're asleep? It unlocks a whole new fear. What bizarre things are happening in your home at night that you are blissfully unaware of? And the repetition provides a nice structure where you're always looking forward to and fearing the next night. The next day, Mika reviews the footage. There's no evidence of a draft or anything that would explain how the door moved. Hey, if the US flag can wave on the moon when there's no wind, sure, why not? A door can open on its own. Later, Katie screams because she saw a spider, and she's aghast when Mika arrives.
Did you go get the camera first?
Yeah, what?
Found footage always needs the main character to become overly obsessed with recording to an unhealthy degree. It makes for dramatic tension and conveniently explains why someone is recording long after that should be the last thing on their mind. Anyway, Mika still isn't taking any of this seriously. He even taunts the entity.
Hey, tell me what the point of this was. It's part of your master plan just to move the door, or are you just doing random shit?
I kind of love that because it is high time for someone to call ghosts on their BS. Can you imagine after a night of haunting, a ghost returns to hell, he's trying to hang with demons, and he's like, yo, Bagul, what'd you get up to last night? Oh, check this out. I possessed a kid and made him kill his entire family with a lawnmower. How about you? Nice, nice. Well, check out what I did. I moved a door. You opened a door? No, it was already open, but I opened it more. Oh, that's cool, I guess. Did anyone see? No, I mean, they were sleeping. Oh. Well, I didn't want to wake them. Katie has school in the morning. Mika, he works hard. I think they caught it on camera, though. Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I guess that'd be kind of freaky. Anyway, I gotta go. Satan's having a thing. I'll see ya. So yeah, I like what Mika is up to here. It's funny, a little satisfying, and unsettling because we know he's probably just pissing the thing off. Kind of like how he's starting to piss off Katie. He's excited about catching stuff on camera, while she's dealing with a thing that's been traumatizing her since childhood. Though he brings up a good point. She never warned him before they moved in together that she comes with a roommate. Night 5, 2:55 a.m. Katie wakes up from a nightmare, startling Mika awake too. Seconds later, a bang from downstairs. Mika checks it out and finds nothing amiss. But the next day, listening to the recording about 10 seconds before they woke up, there's whispering. Seemingly gibberish, he figures the thing wants to communicate, so time to get a Ouija board. Terrible idea, and Katie makes him promise he will not buy a Ouija board. This is where the believability scale starts tipping in the wrong direction for me. Yes, I buy that Katie would be surprisingly casual about all this, but Mika is presented as a skeptic, so if he really is starting to believe, it should be earth-shattering, and I'm not getting that from him at all. But the found footage trick works, so instead of thinking, I don't believe he would act this way, I find myself thinking, it's weird that he's acting this way, but clearly he is, because that's what I'm seeing in the video. Oh, found footage, is there anything you can't do? Night 13, just before 3:14 a.m., a thud wakes Katie. Soon Mika is up too. The both of them listen quietly. Jump scare disclaimer. I'm about to play the audio of what happens next. Honestly, I don't know if jump scares work if you know they're coming, so this will be a good experiment. If you don't want to participate in the experiment, skip ahead 10 seconds. For the rest of you, imagine it's the middle of the night. You think you hear something, but you're not sure. So good. The first jump scare in the movie is important because that's when you most catch the audience off guard. Up to now, the repetitive structure of the nightly footage has trained us to expect everything to be subtle and quiet. So, like the best jump scares, this is not only startling, but also matters to the story because it represents escalation in the manner of haunting. Now, Mr. Ghost has something to talk about. What'd you do last night? I went, ooh, boom! Nice. What'd you do next? Did you, make someone light themselves on fire? No. Oh, I know. You made someone's head spin all the way around. No, I didn't do that. Projectile vomit, at least? No, but you better believe Mika and Katie were pretty groggy in the morning. Oh, they were, up all night? No, I think they dozed off after a bit, but I doubt they got back into REM. They probably spent the rest of the night in stage 2, moderate sleep. Did you at least give them nightmares? I didn't think of that, but that's kind of invasive, no? After the shout and thud, they run downstairs and find nothing other than a chandelier swaying a bit. They head back upstairs, hear some more noise, but eventually the next day arrives. Mika does an experiment. He holds up a mic and asks some questions.
Do you have something to say in English this time?
Listening back to the recording, he does hear a response.
Be happy to talk with the Ouija board?
Whoa. No.
Night 15. Katie gets up in a daze at 1:36 a.m. She stands up and stares blankly for about 2 hours. She heads downstairs. Once Mika notices she's gone, he finds her outside sitting, confused, saying things like, "I'm fine, leave me alone. I don't want to go inside." This feels pretty authentic to my experience with sleepwalkers. One of my brothers used to sleepwalk, and he would get belligerently confused. I won't say which brother it was because he's embarrassed about it, but you'd be like, "Daniel, what are you doing?" And he'd get pissed. "I don't know. What? Shut up." It was really annoying. Back inside, Mika hears a thud upstairs and finds the TV in their bedroom turned on. The next day, he plays the footage for Katie, and she has no memory of it. That is one of the creepiest parts of the movie. Just imagine you're in bed with someone. I know, hard to imagine, just go with it. You wake up and they aren't next to you anymore. You turn your head and they're standing there, staring at you. Soon, Mika decides to try out a Ouija board. For some reason, he decides to do it minutes before he and Katie leave the house. Like they're on their way out for a date, and he decides to quickly set up the camera, take out the board. "Hey babe, while you grab the keys, let me just knock out a quick communion with the devil." This might be another not quite believable moment. Did he think Katie would go along with this, somehow not notice? But his justification is hilarious. "I promised I wouldn't buy a Ouija board. Never said I wouldn't borrow one from somebody." Reminds me of Ethan Hawke in Sinister. "You told me no one was murdered in this house." That's true. They were killed outside. Katie forbids him from using the Ouija board, so he leaves it on the coffee table unattended while they head out. While they're gone, it moves and eventually sets itself on fire. "Nice, bro. So you finally set someone on fire, huh?" "Yeah, well, no, I set the Ouija board on fire." "Oh, but don't you need that to communicate with them?" "Oh yeah, you're right. Shoot." Later that night, when they come home, Mika finds an upside-down pentagram burned into the Ouija board, and Katie is quite understandably upset with her boyfriend. At 1:26 a.m., Mika speaks to the camera. He promises to abide by Katie's rules, to stop purposefully offending the demon and making things worse. The late hour and the shift in vibe tells you everything you need to know about the amount of off-camera apologizing he's done. The next day, Mika reviews the footage of what happened to the Ouija board while they were out. Given the angle of the camera, he can't tell exactly what the demon spelled, but he can get some idea. It apparently moved the cursor to goodbye, then spelled possibly Adina, Diane, or maybe Nadine. I've seen people online claim it's spelled Mika, and that it was supposedly confirmed by the filmmaker. I have not been able to substantiate that claim. The only place I found Oren Peli talking about this scene or giving any further detail is in a Reddit AMA. He didn't say what the demon spelled, but explained what it was up to. In my opinion, the demon was warning them, knowing that it will goad Mika to keep going. So basically, Mika's attempts to communicate are opening the door, and the demon is giving a little bait to keep Mika going. Katie just wants that damn board out of her house. She's getting worried about how bad things are getting. While telling her friend Amber about it, Mika tells them not to worry. He has a plan. The problem is that his plan is more of the same. Just more ways to track or observe, but not actually get rid of the thing. He wants to put baby powder on the floor near their bedroom so they can track footprints. Maybe he hopes the demon doesn't want to be tracked, so the baby powder will deter it. Yes, the demon will be intimidated by baby powder. Compromise. Katie will let him run his little experiment, but if it doesn't help, she's calling the demonologist tomorrow. It's insane she hasn't called him already. At least you can point to the fact that Mika is pressuring her, but it's insane that he hasn't agreed to call the demonologist. He might have written him off as a quack earlier, but now that he's actually communicated with a demon, you think he'd be more open to the idea. That night, he sets up the powder trap, then has one more argument before bed. What, you want to call the demon guy? That's exactly what I want to do. Well, you're my girlfriend. This is my house. I'm gonna take care of it. I've been doing my research.
I'm gonna fucking solve the problem, okay?
Okay.
Commence night 17 at 3:15 a.m. The sound of footsteps, loud enough to wake them up. And yes, they find demonic footprints leading into their bedroom from the closet down the hall. In that closet, the attic hatch is open, and up there, Mika finds a charred photo of Katie as a child. That photo should have burned with her house 15 years ago, but it seems the demon held onto it for posterity. The next day, Mika brightens up the footage and you can actually see the footprints forming. Finally, she decides to call the demonologist.
Hey, just let's talk about this first.
Oh, shut up, Mika, and unfortunately, they're too late. They should have called the demonologist 2 weeks ago, but now he's away traveling. In the meantime, she calls Dr. Fredericks, the psychic. He'll come by tomorrow.
Fucking people. Ridiculous.
I know, people, right? He sucks, but in a realistically unlikable way or a reality-breaking way. For me, it starts to be more the latter, especially after the Ouija board incident when there's no doubt something paranormal is happening, and now they have actual footprints forming on camera. I don't care how stubborn he is, even if he doesn't call for help. At minimum, he'd shut off the cameras and stop provoking the thing. Or I think it'd work for me more if his obsession were exaggerated further, to the point where you question his sanity, or wonder if maybe he's under the demon's influence. But at this point, he seems too sane and in control to be acting so irrationally. Night 18. The downstairs light turns on. Frantic footsteps up the stairs. The door slams shut. Then, banging on that door, Mika goes out, taunts the demon some more. Another bang. In the daytime, Katie and Mika are tired. She is especially fed up. She doesn't want to be here anymore, and even daytime isn't safe anymore. While they're eating, they hear a thud upstairs. The demon punched a photo of them, cracking the glass over Mika's face, and to make the message clear, it scratched that face too. Apparently, he is not a Mika fan. Never thought I'd side with a demon, but here we are. The demon now is breathing on Katie. She can feel it. Her hair even flutters. She runs downstairs. Soon, the psychic arrives. Immediately, he can feel the energy in the house. The demon does not like that he is here, and he cannot help them. In fact, his presence would likely only make things worse. Dr. Avery's, the demonologist, will be back in the country in a few days. They've got to hold out until then. Dr. Fredericks is played perfectly by Mark Fredericks. He has such an air of authority that his presence brings a comfort and rationality to all the insanity. So his leaving feels awful, like a captain abandoning a sinking ship. Night 19, 1:34 a.m. The demon moves the sheets on their bed. 3:04 a.m. It turns the hallway light on and enters their room. You can see its shadow. It wakes Katie. She can feel him breathing. In the day, she can feel it watching her, and she can feel something is wrong. There's a demon around. That's the thing that's wrong. Mika does some more research. He finds a website and learns about a girl named Diane. Back in the 60s, she had the same experience as Katie. House burned down, thing haunting her. They called an exorcist, and sometimes trying to get rid of a demon, it just pisses it off more. Mika doesn't tell Katie how the girl died, but you can make it out in the article if you freeze frame. She bled to death after chewing off her own arm. Also, this would seemingly confirm what the demon was writing on the Ouija board. Diane. She was one of the possibilities, and apparently that was the name of its previous victim. Mika wonders if maybe it wanted them to look her up as a warning not to get any funny ideas like calling an exorcist. At least now the movie has provided more solid justification for the characters doing nothing. Mika suggests it's gone away on its own before, so let's not make things worse with an exorcism. The less believable part is that they keep filming. If the hope is for things to calm down like before, you'd expect the characters to try and recreate the same environment as before, which would mean no cameras. But obviously that would end the movie, so the age-old dilemma with found footage. Mika has some more ideas he wants to discuss. Katie doesn't want to talk about it anymore. They fight, they reconcile, Night 20, 4:32 a.m. The shadow appears again. Katie is yanked out of her bed and pulled down the hall. Mika runs after her and manages to get her back in the bedroom. On her back, they find a bite mark. Finally, they decide to leave the house and get a hotel. He gets ready, then finds her on the ground clutching a crucifix so hard it's made her hand bleed. Mika is sick and tired of all this, burns the crucifix and the childhood photo of Katie. Once the car is packed, Mika heads upstairs to find Katie in bed. She's decided she doesn't want to go. She thinks it'd be better if they stayed after all. After Mika storms out of the room, it becomes clear this is the demon's influence.
I think we'll be okay now.
October 8th, night 21, 1:27 a.m. Katie sits bolt upright. She gets out of bed and stands up. The sheets pull off Mika on their own. She stands above him for nearly 2 hours, then walks out of the room before screaming for Mika at the top of her lungs. He runs after her and he yells, "Oh my God!" Loud thud, then quiet. We hear Katie's footsteps come up the stairs. She tosses Mika's body into the camera, and we see she's covered in blood, having murdered him under the demon's control. Yeah, she was totally under the demon's control when she killed him. Someone call Ed and Lorraine Warren for the defense. She walks toward the camera, gets on her hands and knees, animalistically checks or sniffs the body, then comes toward the camera. She smiles, and her face turns demonic as she charges at it. Mika's body was discovered by police on October 11th, 2006, 3 days after he died. Katie's whereabouts remain unknown. This is the ending Spielberg suggested. Before that, Pelli had shot a different ending. In fact, according to him, they shot tons of potential endings, too many to count. But the one he originally went with has Katie coming upstairs covered in blood and holding a knife after killing Mika off camera. Then she sits by the bed rocking back and forth for hours. The next day, we hear Amber discovering Mika's body downstairs and screaming. Half an hour later, the cops show up and shoot Katie dead when she walks toward them with a knife. Pelli also shot another ending, where after killing Mika, instead of sitting down, she smiles and cuts her own throat. And that's over a decade before Smile came out. I think for those alternate endings, Pelli was trying to keep things grounded. But I'm going to go with Spielberg and say that ending on a more exciting, ambiguous note was the right move. All three endings are dark, but the original and alternate are also dour. The theatrical version is still dark, but ends with more of a jolt and ambiguity that lets the story linger in your mind. And it turns one movie into a franchise with 6 sequels, but more on that another day. Month of Terror continues tomorrow with VHS Halloween.